everyone, and welcome into Fox 35 Sound Off. This is a new segment that we're doing here on Fox Local that you'll also see sprinkled into some of our newscasts, where we'll have guests from here around our area in Central Florida to talk about some of the big headlines and the big stories throughout the days and weeks. So I will introduce our two guests here for our first discussion on TikTok and the possible ban of the app. That's small business owner Kwame Boche and Carolina Amnesty, representative in the House District 45 here in the Florida legislature. Thank you both for coming on with us.
Yeah, thanks for having us, man.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
So this is something that has been dominating the headlines for the past couple of weeks. And Kwame, I'll start with you. You use the app extensively.
Every day.
You have a big following. 500,000 people.
Yeah.
How'd you build that?
So I've believed in the most important thing I'm a restaurateur, 3 times restaurateur now, so I have 3 restaurants, and that Wingspot has a huge following on TikTok, 500,000. My first restaurant, Chicken Fire, has even more than that, 700,000, and then my new restaurant, Cow and Cheese, is up and coming with that. But I've known for a long time that for restaurants, social media is very important because it's marketing, it's media, how you communicate with people, how you communicate with guests. And the way you do that, and if you study all throughout history, is you have to go where the attention of people is, right? It used to be newspapers, it used to be magazines, and then it went to radio, and then it was the TV, and then it was computers and laptops, and then it became mobile phones, and now it's all kinds of apps on those phones. And so when we have to be where our people are, right? And so TikTok for us was a way where I saw, hey, this is where a lot of attention is going. It's been like that way for several years now. Obviously, TikTok had a big boom here in the United States during COVID, where, unfortunately, a lot of things shut down and people turned to different forms of entertainment. A lot of that was through the phone, and then they saw a lot of information out there on TikTok, and that's where a lot of that gained a big traction, even bigger following than it had. And then so for me as a restaurateur, an effective way to communicate with my current guests and potential guests is to say, hey, here's what we're about, and here's where we are, and here's what we need to do. And I want to communicate with you in a way where you're going to pay attention to me and then see exactly what I'm about and give me a chance and give me an opportunity.
So I'll bring in now the representative Republican from Windermere. You introduced some legislation in the previous legislative session that was signed into law that removed TikTok from our schools here in Florida as well as from the government in Florida. So why is your belief that security is at risk with TikTok?
Well, it's a pleasure to be with you both here, and I will say that it's important for businesses to thrive in the state of Florida. We want businesses to thrive, and I look forward to trying your chicken sometime soon. I'd love to participate and really support local businesses, specifically in the state of Florida. It is imperative to support the business community. However, we've identified as a state that TikTok, the ByteDance, the company that owns TikTok, is a threat to national security. And we've seen that all over the country with high officials in government, the federal level as well, saying it is highly concerned because right now all the algorithms and all the data that's being collected by TikTok is reported to the Chinese Communist Party. So we presented a measure in the state of Florida to protect Floridians, and not necessarily, I would say that very broad, but rather protecting Floridians through state-owned devices. So in other words, public institutions, government officials, and so forth prohibited utilization of TikTok on their devices because we've identified that these devices have sensitive information, and we don't want Floridians' sensitive information in the hands of the Chinese Communist Party. So that was a measure that was taken. We didn't ban completely TikTok from the business community, but rather state-owned devices that has sensitive information.
And so the reason that we're having this discussion now is because the president signed legislation this week that would basically ban TikTok if the company is still under Chinese ownership within 9 months with a 3-month extension. So that is why this is at the core of our conversation here today. Kwame, for you, TikTok, what is it like with to broadcast your message, your company, and your vision to so many people, what kind of reception do you get?
I think it's very important for us in everything that we do because we've been able to grow, expand, and scale our business because of platforms like TikTok, being able to reach so many people so quickly with something so simple and really cost effective, right? It doesn't cost you anything to post any content on these platforms. You just do it. And then by the way the algorithms work, if your content matches up with things that your potential audience or an audience out there wants to see, then people will see it. It has potential to go viral where hundreds of thousands or millions or tens of millions or hundreds of millions of people can see it. And for a small business owner like myself and any small business out there, that type of reach is not available to us, right? That's big corporation type reach where you have millions of marketing dollars to spend. I don't have millions of marketing dollars to spend, but I can get the same reach as someone who does just by way of my creativity, right? Just by my effort, just by my hard work, just by showing up every day and trying new things, being creative, trying out new formats. And that levels the playing field, right? Whereas before, there's a huge barrier to entry, right? If I can't market like McDonald's, well, who's going to hear about me, right? I can't afford to have billboards all over Orlando. I can't afford to, be on the radio and have different TV ads. It's just not something that is within a small business budget. However, I can post to TikTok. I can take out my smartphone and take videos and take pictures and understand how to do that and post that. And then when millions of people see that and then drive traffic into my restaurants and we grow sales as a result of that, that's a direct benefit not only to me, but to my restaurant, to all the people that I work with, right? Because when we have more sales, then I can employ more people. I can pay them higher and better wages, right? We're feeding more people in the community. There's different community initiatives we can take advantage of. Different community advantages that we can participate in. And with that, not only are my people doing better, the people that work with me, right, their families are doing better as a result of that. So there's so many net positive benefits as a result of being able to do something so simple as post on this platform and get reach and get following.
And Representative, it is that reach that Kwame mentioned that is kind of at the heart of the security concerns, isn't it?
It is. It's extraordinary to hear the other side of the spectrum. Like everything in life, it's all about a balance.
Right.
And there's not just one side fits all necessarily, but rather a balance. And I think that the balance is that we really need the business community, the small business community, to place pressure on ByteDance. We need ByteDance, specifically TikTok, that operates here in the United States, to really have that pressure saying you have to find an American company that wants to buy and operate TikTok in the country, because we just can't have TikTok be owned by the Chinese Communist Party. I mean, it's a matter of national security. It's a threat to Floridians. It's a threat to Americans right now. It's truly the espionage branch for the Chinese Communist Party. Imagine having a foreign country like China spying on Americans, collecting data and selling this data and using it for an advantage for their country against our own. It's really a matter of national security. It's a big concern for Floridians, for the families. But as everything in life, it's about a balance. There are pros in the algorithms. I actually feel very happy to see that there are small businesses that are thriving, that are really advancing. That's what we want in the state of Florida. We want business owners to really thrive, and we understand that there's a lot of competition, specifically in the restaurant industry, competing with McDonald's and Burger Kings and these big chains. Small business owners have the challenge to really compete at that level, and I understand that social media is vital for that reach. It doesn't cost anything to post on social media, so we really need to place that pressure. In government, we don't want to ban something that can be a positive for our community, but rather we want to place measures in place that protects Floridians. And in this case, we're protecting Floridians, and I'm happy to see that at the federal level in a bipartisan way. No matter if you're Republican or Democrat, you want to protect the people you serve, in this case, the American community. We want to ensure that the espionage branch of the Chinese Communist Party does not operate through TikTok, and we need to place pressure. We need pressure placed on ByteDance to sell to an American company. That way we can continue to allow businesses to thrive, and it can be utilized in the country, or else it will be banned.
And I'll ask you, it's been more than a year since the governor signed your piece of legislation into law, or coming up on a year now here soon. What has been the impact, the effect here in Florida of that?
Well, we're protecting state-owned devices. You know, as public officials, we have sensitive information in our phones, in our computers, in our servers, VPNs, and so forth. And we're protecting the data that we have of Floridians to not be in the hands of the Chinese Communist Party. Florida really led the way in taking that measure. It was signed into law. The governor signed it into law. And now we're seeing on a federal level where the Biden administration is saying, hey, we need to do something about this. We need to ensure that the Chinese Communist Party doesn't have this data. You have 9 months, sell to an American company, we can end this mess. You know, we want TikTok to be utilized in the country with safeguards. And those safeguards is that it cannot report the information of American families, children, the content to the Chinese Communist Party. The Chinese Communist Party is a threat to America, not just America, to the Western civilization.
So I have a question on that because I'll be honest with you, Carolina, I'm not huge into politics and the political side of things. I really try and stay in my lane.
No worries,
In my restaurants, I ban any talk of politics. I think it's very divisive. I say, hey, you know, it's, we get on these different sides. Everybody has different opinions on it, and who you vote for, who I vote for, all different type of things. What I am very curious to hear your take on is why it's what the threat actually is in terms of TikTok and what TikTok is and what it represents and the information that can be obtained from, you know, whomever out there. Like, what do you feel that main threat is? I have a follow-up to that, but I want to know, like, what is the actual threat? Because I hear about that, and I've seen the news articles. Obviously, I hear about the TikTok ban and the potential ban if it doesn't sell to an American company. And so, you know, this is information that is important because it comes to my doorstep, and this is something that we utilize on a regular basis in my business. I'm just curious to know what's the actual threat that government, that maybe other people out there are afraid of, what information might fall into the hands.
So on federal espionage, there is a lot of safeguards, measures. A country, for example, like China, can't just send somebody and spy on Americans collecting credit card information, name, address, place, following Americans, spying on Americans. That just can't be done. There's federal regulations on espionage. Now, TikTok collects this data, and the data that's collected by the Chinese Communist Party law, because it's a Chinese entity, ByteDance in this case, this data is reported to the CCP directly. So all the data, whoever they want to spy on, if there's a specific American family they want to spy on, if there's a conversation, if there's a credit card number, if there is any information that it can collect through TikTok, TikTok will report that information to ByteDance, which in essence reports it to the CCP. So there's no longer the need of actually having a spy on American grounds. They have a social media platform that allows them to spy on anyone they would like. And in this case, it's the American people. It's highly concerning. We've seen high-level officials on the federal level talk about it, do press releases. I know the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, has also collected data informing the American people that it is highly concerning. Whether you're on the left or the right or whatever political spectrum, you don't want your data to be reported to a country like the Chinese Communist Party. This is a matter of national security. It is highly concerning.
So as a follow-up, I'm just curious in terms of, so it kind of sounds like the main concern is that they would have an ability, or currently have an ability, to spy on us through their technological capabilities, through different information that we have and put out there, and so I guess it's two questions. Is, you know, what is the fear that they will do with that information? I mean, credit cards and things like that, I get that makes sense, but other types of information in terms of, like, for me, for example, I'm posting majority food content and things of that nature, and food advice and restaurant advice and things of that nature. Like, what would they do with that information, or what would they do from information they would collect from that? And the second thing is, as I know it, data breaches and things of that nature are not a Chinese specific thing, right? It happens in all different types of companies, right? We have data breaches that have happened in American companies, right, where people are able to access the data, who have gotten data, people that have not good intentions, right? How is that different? Why are we focused? Is it a focus on it's a Chinese thing and we don't like China type deal, and that's really why the focus? Because at that same time, shouldn't we be internally looking in our own country at we have these data breaches, data hacks? We hear these with these big companies that happens, T-Mobile, AT&T, and they have a ton of sensitive data, they have a ton of conversations, and then I'm sorry for that. A third
so
thing.
Kwame, let me help you clean it up here.
Yeah.
First question was along the lines of
what can they do with the
right?
information?
What can they do with that data?
Yeah.
You know, for the average American who, like you, is, you know, not real, politics is not my lane. I want to stay as far away from this. I just want to watch videos of cats doing things, or get restaurant reviews, or see content that I have curated to me, right? So you were asking, what can China and ByteDance do with that data?
Well, there's a lot of things they can do. Specifically on the espionage side, they're spying on specific strategic elements that they need, information that they need that they just can't get a hold of, sensitive information, whether it's through elected officials, whether it's through a specific family they want to target, whether it's for political reasons, whether it's for data breach. There's a variety of elements that are highly concerning, and I think that the one that really has captivated the attention of the American people is the educational side, where we're seeing that the version that we see here in the United States is not the same version that the Chinese people see in their country. While their children are getting educated, through piano classes and violin and high educational elements, we're seeing a lot of different algorithms in the United States. For example, if a young girl places on TikTok or other social media platforms a mental health situation, then all of a sudden the algorithms will start posting and showing and demonstrating these algorithms to that young girl. So there's a lot of concerning elements throughout the board. It's not just when it comes down to sensitive information, but also the algorithms. But like everything in life, there are pros and there are cons. Right. In your case, as a restaurant, I'm happy to hear that the algorithms are beneficial because it allows you to place that exposure instead of competing with, McDonald's and Burger King on billboards and radio and TV. So there are positives and there are negatives, but specifically on my bill, it's ensuring that no information is in the hands of the CCP. The CCP is a threat to America and to the Western civilization. It truly is. The Communist Party of China, not the Chinese people, but rather the China Communist Party, is a threat to Americans. They want to become a world power. They want to be first globally. They want to take the place of the United States. It's been very clear from all elements, from national security to technology to education to family. The whole perspective is they want to become that world power. So we need to ensure that the United States continues to lead and that any information is not in the hands of the CCP. The families in Florida deserve to be safe. Their information deserves to be safe, and it just can't be in the hands of the CCP. There are high regulations on espionage, and we can't allow a platform just to collect data. Now, the specifics of where the data, what's the intent, that's on the hand of the CCP, but we are sure that the CCP does not have good intentions. We know there are many intentions. We don't have the very specific, but we know they're not good intentions, and we want to protect Floridians. So, like everything in life, there's a pro and there's a con, but my role in government is to safety, national security, state security specifically, and also to allow businesses to thrive. So we're balancing that out, and my bill specifically was on the State Guard, ensuring that we provide safety measures for families in Florida.
And I think your second question was a good one. That we were going to get to, of what sets TikTok apart. And so we will get to that question after a short break. This is Fox 35 Sound Off. We have two great guests. We're talking about the possible ban of TikTok here in the United States. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Fox 35 Sound Off. Today's topic is the possible ban of TikTok in the United States if the Chinese company that owns TikTok doesn't sell within a certain amount of time. So we have two guests here from Central Florida with us talking about TikTok and its impact on us as well as yourselves. We have Kwame Boakye and we have Carolina Amnesty, House District 45 representative with us. And so we were just in the middle of great discussion. We have to take a break, how it goes. So the question that I teased was for the representative, and it was just what sets TikTok apart. You mentioned data breaches happen. We've heard about AT&T. I get notices of certain companies that I subscribe to that I might have been a victim to a data breach. We have other social media companies that use our data, Facebook, X. But what sets TikTok apart that basically the state level here in Florida and now the federal government is going with a crackdown?
Absolutely. We've seen that it's not just a Republican issue or a Democrat issue, but rather a matter of national security, as we saw this initiative by the Biden administration as well. It's highly concerning. We've seen data breaches from different companies and so forth, but TikTok specifically, the information that is collected by TikTok is reported to the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party. So it's very different. We're not talking about a data breach just on the financial side of things or some type of scam, but we're talking about the Chinese Communist Party, which is a national threat to Americans and to the Western civilization because of the different elements that is at risk. The fact that we have a foreign country that has a social media platform, clearly they own this social media platform and that they're spying on Americans, that the information that's being collected is being utilized against the country holistically, not a specific area, not a specific target, but rather the American people, the American interest, the national security interest. And in reality, the Western civilization is truly concerning. It's a matter of national security that we don't want the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, to have the data of Floridians, to have the data of Americans, to know where you go to eat, to know what you're doing, to know your phone number, your credit card, your information, your business, your tax returns, all this data. I mean, we're not just talking about financial content, but holistically everything you do, because the application monitors it all through this social media platform. So it's very concerning, and it's a matter of national security. And we've seen that across the board. It's not a political, I would say, talking point. It's not just the Biden administration. It's not just the state level Republicans saying, hey, we need to protect Floridians. It's truly across the board. We need to protect the American people, and that is our priority.
I wanted to cut in on, just because I'm really, again, as a consumer, as a business owner, I'm really curious about that part in terms of, okay, we're talking about, okay, China, they can get all this information and they have access to all this information, they're spying on us, and this is just me, not on a political side about it, but isn't our own country spying on us and getting that same information? We have Facebook that has more users, we have Instagram that's part of Facebook that has huge users, X, YouTube, Google, we're all on these sites. We're putting so much information on these sites. I've had more data issues with people in this country than any other country out there. China, India, doesn't matter. Like, this country I've had the most effects on. And so, what are we doing here? Because we're talking about, okay, China's a problem, but China can sell to an American company, but then aren't we just putting that in someone here's hands, and those same issues the same thing that China has access to now, there's already access to here, and then it sounds like and it's just me from what I'm hearing, it sounds like a slippery slope, because it sounds like the main basis of it is that it's China and it's Chinese. And for me, just as a minority, that's scary, because it comes to a point where it can be like, okay, well, because they're Chinese, and what if it becomes more of a, well, we don't trust this person because they're this ethnicity. We don't trust this person because they're that.
I think it's important to know that it's not that they're Chinese. So one thing is being Chinese and being that's your ethnicity. I'm Venezuelan, I'm Hispanic, Latina Americana. We're not talking about being Chinese. We're talking about the Chinese Communist Party. We're talking about a political movement that their sole focus is America. That their sole focus is to really ensure that America doesn't continue to be a world power, that continues to really weaken itself. That's their goal. Their goal is to become the first world leader globally, and we know that they don't have rights. They don't have human rights. The Chinese people don't have the freedom of the press. They can't have this conversation openly. They don't have social media platforms. It's funny. They own TikTok, and they're feeding all these algorithms to the American people. They're spying on the American people, but yet the Chinese people in China don't have the right to be on TikTok, to see TikTok, to look at the amazing chicken wings that perhaps that they could come to Orlando and eat. So it's very interesting. It is really a threat to national security, to the American people. And you mentioned about the American government spying on Americans. I will say that it is important this upcoming election November, that the American people vote in favor of a political party that does not spy on Americans. We can't have the American government spying on Americans. We can definitely not have the Chinese Communist Party. We're not talking about the Chinese people. We know they have wonderful people. I know the Chinese people are wonderful people. Great food as well. I will say that perhaps they can be competitors to the chicken wings.
I'm all for competition.
Right?
I think here's a quick question I know because we're running close here, and we've discussed a lot, and there's a couple more things that I'm sure you want to get to, Manny, before we're done here. But I'm really curious, just because I'm a very curious person. This is what sparks my interest in business and multiple things.
Yes.
But it's okay, it's because it's Chinese Communist Party, but what if, let's say today, Mark Zuckerberg, who's over Facebook and Instagram, two probably largest social media sites out there, most well known, besides TikTok. Let's say he openly declared today that I'm joining the Communist Party or neo-Nazi party or something that we would probably agree regularly that, okay, that's not a great, then do we decide to try to take Facebook and Instagram away from him? Is it because of the political party you decide to be on? So if you're not a Democrat or Republican or independent, then you can no longer build an enterprise. Like
like
where's
everything,
that slippery slope?
absolutely. No, and I understand your concerns, and like everything in life, it's all about a balance. It really is all about a balance. Now, in regards to Facebook and of course Meta, Instagram, WhatsApp, we've taken measures as well to protect Floridians. At the end of the day, it's not specific on one political party or one ideology versus the other. It's about Floridians. It's about protecting the people of Florida. And as a government official, my role is to ensure that businesses thrive like yourself and that the people of Florida are protected. I mean, the fact that these algorithms are now inducing and promoting really bad stuff to the minds of our children is highly concerning. The fact that these social media platforms, they project certain, I would say certain perspectives, but yet people in China can't participate, people in China can't have access to it. It is concerning, but like I said, everything in life is a balance. Now, what's not a balance is putting the people of Florida first. What's not a balance is protecting Americans. What's not a balance is ensuring that our national security overall is protected. We have a role to make in government, which is to protect people, to protect businesses, to ensure that businesses thrive and that Floridians are protected no matter what. And that's what we're going to do in the State House. And I know that the federal government is trying to get this across the finish line. And I urge you as a small business owner to really press a lot of pressure, place pressure on ByteDance to ensure that ByteDance is now bought by an American company, because we understand that there are positives in these platforms, that they can be utilized for good things. Like everything in life, you can utilize it for something good and to make an impact. We just need it to be owned by an American. We cannot have the Chinese Communist Party. We're not talking about people from China. We're talking about the Chinese Communist Party. We cannot have them spy on Americans. That can't happen. And we can't have the American government spy on Americans. That's why this election in November, there is a lot at stake.
All right. I want to thank you both for an excellent conversation. Very lively, and there's still a lot left too that we could still talk about this. So many questions that we can. I'll give you one last chance here, and I'll say, if TikTok goes away as a business owner, one sentence, how would that hurt you?
So TikTok going away as a business owner, that's going to take away a large amount of reach in the marketplace that we have. A lot of marketing advantage that we've been able to build up reduces our ability to create competitive advantages for us as a small business in the marketplace, and gives more advantages to bigger companies out there that have more marketing dollars or farther ahead. The attention will go somewhere, and we will go where that attention goes. And so as a small business, we'll have to be creative and adaptive. But I will just add to that to me, this subject has opened up a lot of things to me, because it's important, because my small business supports alone over 40 employees, and those employees all have families and people that they care about and loved ones, and something like TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, those things help me support them and help us support our community and help the people that come and purchase from us continue to love what we do and find out about us. And I think it would be wild if I believed a certain thing and someone told me that I have to get rid of my businesses now because I believed a certain thing or believed a certain way, and I can't help support these people anymore because of that. That would be personally devastating to me, and I would raise heck about that personally. And I think
I was just about to ask you, so does that mean you're going to start pushing for an American buyer to TikTok, yes or no?
I am not going to push either way. Again, I am not a political person. I'm not going to push either way. I just raise the social questions and socioeconomic questions that we need to ask and say, is it fair? Is it right? Would I like it if it was happening to me? And a lot of I heard, it's we don't like how someone believes or how someone does, because we don't have proof that they're doing something with that information, and not different information than we're probably doing to ourselves or our own people. And with that, it's like, I can't say I'm one way or another, because again, it's a slippery slope from there. What happens if they do the same test and they say, hey, then no, we're not allowing our people on Facebook, on Instagram? That loses a lot of users from those. What if other countries start doing that, and then we start falling down a really hard slope there? And I think that gets us to a really divisive place, where I think the good side of social media is bringing people together. And you mentioned something really earlier I just want to touch on, is that
you got 10 seconds.
Right, kids and things of that nature, and then the negative things that can happen on any social media site. I'm a parent. I have 2 kids, and for my 6-year-old daughter, I wouldn't ever allow her to use like TikTok, Instagram, Facebook on her own. That's a parenting thing, and I think some of us have to be better, more responsible parents, better, more responsible people, and protect ourselves like that.
All right, Kwame, thank you. Absolutely. Representative, thank you as well.
Absolutely, thank you. It's been a pleasure. It's been a great conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope we can continue
very interesting.
it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thanks, man.
All right, and thank you all for joining us here for our first edition of Fox 35 Sound Off. We hope to have more of these coming up in the future, but for now, we'll say so long.